Along with pH, this quantity is one of the axes on a diagram that maps the equilibrium phases of an aqueous system, named for Marcel Pourbaix. A formula for calculating this quantity may include the number 0.059 if a common logarithm is involved, and most often contains the term RT over NF ln Q. This quantity's value is defined as 0 for the production of hydrogen gas from the H+ ion. The Nernst equation calculates this quantity, which is symbolized by a script E. For 10 points, name this potential that represents the tendency of a species to gain electrons. And the answer is reduction potential. At high pressures, this element could undergo the Wigner-Huntington phase transition to its metallic form. Most common solvents in NMR replace nuclei of this element with its rarer isotopes. The kinetic isotope effect is most pronounced in this element, as its isotopes have the largest relative change in mass than do any other elements. The majority of cosmic rays are nuclei of this element. The predominant isotope of this element is replaced by an uncommon isotope in heavy water. Isotopes of this element, which contain 1 and 2 neutrons respectively, are deuterium and tritium. For 10 points, name this diatomic gas the lightest element on the periodic table. And the answer is hydrogen. Biodiesel is produced by a reaction in which the R groups of 2 of these compounds are switched. 2 of these compounds can form carbon-carbon bonds through the Claisen condensation. These compounds can be formed by refluxing a carboxylic acid with an alcohol with an acid catalyst in a reaction named for Fischer. These compounds can be hydrolyzed by a base to make soaps in saponification. These compounds often have names ending in 8 or O8. For 10 points, name these compounds that contain a carbon attached to a carbonyl and an oxygen which gives off various fruity aromas. And the answer is esters. A common method for designing these devices is a graph with 2 operating lines, an equilibrium line, and a series of stair steps from the bottoms to the overheads. The output of a catalytic cracker is usually fed directly into one of these pieces of equipment. These devices are operated at -300 degrees Fahrenheit to do cryogenic separation of oxygen from nitrogen. Refluxing liquid drains downward through these devices to enhance the purity of streams coming out of them. Kerosene is one of the fractions coming off these devices when they're used to refine petroleum. For 10 points, name these columns that separate liquids by their boiling points. And the answer is distillation columns. Dioxane and trioxane are both cyclic ethers with this many members in their rings. The Diels-Alder reaction reacts a diene and a dienophile to form a ring with this many members. Piperidine is a heterocyclic ring with this many members. Applying Huckel's rule, where n equals 1 corresponds to a system with this many pi electrons. A cyclic compound with this many carbons exists in half-chair and twist boat conformations. Auguste Kekule deduced the structure of a compound with this many carbons through a dream with a snake eating its own tail. For 10 points, name this number of carbons in benzene and cyclohexane. And the answer is 6. The ratio of 2 isotopes of this element in ice cores is used as a paleothermometer to determine prehistoric temperatures. One molecule that contains this element appeared about 2.45 billion years ago in a namesake great event that was correlated with the emergence of cyanobacteria. This element can become depleted in lakes through the process of eutrophication. This element, which is found along with silica in all feldspars, is the most abundant element in the Earth's crust. An allotrope of this element is removed by CFCs in a layer of the stratosphere. For 10 points, name this element found in ozone. And the answer is oxygen. Replacing a hydrogen in levodopa with a radioactive isotope of this element helps localize adrenal gland tumors in PET scans. 6 atoms of this element are found in a compound that is used as a flux for the refining of bauxite called cryolite. Carbon forms its strongest single covalent bond with this element. Non-stick coatings often have a polymer with a carbon and this element known as PTFE. Compounds of carbon, chlorine, and this element were banned by the Montreal Protocol due to contributing to ozone depletion. With a value of 3.94 on the Pauling scale, this element has the highest electronegativity. For 10 points, name this lightest halogen. And the answer is fluorine. Standard Oil of Ohio names a process that reacts propylene with this compound in water to form acrylonitrile. An atom in this compound undergoes a quantum tunneling inversion in a maser named for this compound that was invented by Charles Towns. A process for creating this compound most commonly utilizes an iron-based catalyst and high temperatures and pressures. This substance, which is oxidized to produce nitric acid in the Ostwald process, is industrially produced from atmospheric nitrogen by the Haber-Bosch process. For 10 points, name this compound commonly used in cleaning products with formula NH3. And the answer is ammonia. Brett's rule states that this interaction cannot be located at the bridgehead position of small bridged bicyclic molecules. The number of these interactions in a fatty acid is placed before delta in one form of fatty acid nomenclature. A property known as these interactions equivalent quantifies the level of unsaturation of a compound. Imines contain one of these interactions between carbon and nitrogen atoms. 2 carbons that participate in this interaction are modeled by sp2 hybridization. These interactions involve one sigma bond and one pi bond. For 10 points, name these covalent bonds in which 4 electrons are shared. And the answer is double bond.